Sometimes finding the perfect place to settle down in the exiled lands is a struggle, especially if you're a new player. Today we're going over 3 base locations in the desert of the exiled lands that you can use to get a good start on your survival journey. These are mainly focused at PvE and PvE-C, but these locations could also be decent for PvP with a bit more fortification. So when we're looking for a base, we need to fulfill LARP. No, not live action roleplay. LARP stands for location, accessibility, resources and practicality. To be a good choice for a base location, it must meet this criteria. You can get bases in some really nice spots, but having to travel a long distance to reach important resources like iron, aloe, stone, wood, etc. can really drag a base down in the overall critique. Therefore, when I've selected these locations, I am very much keeping LARP in mind. So let's take a look at our first location. It's in the south of map square F5, west of the Hand of the Maker. This is quite a resource rich area in a relatively safe part of the map, though initially settling the area will require you to kill some hyenas. Corrupted hyenas can of course also spawn here, which may prove an issue. Your best bet in general is simply to kill the hyenas and block the spawns nearby with a foundation or a fence foundation so they're not chasing you back into your base. This location offers plenty of space and also plenty of useful resources in the nearby area. You'll find tons of wood and stone in the nearby area, along with loads of iron in the south near the corner of Bones. There's tons of plant fibre, seeds, coal and aloe along the riverbanks too, and you're also fairly close to the unnamed city, so you can get some really good fighter thralls. And there's also a few Dafari camps nearby that can provide you some early game worker thralls. This area is a good option if you prefer to live somewhat safely in the desert. In the early game you should find yourself levelling up pretty quickly here, as there are tons of crocodiles and hyenas, along with enemies that give a lot of XP in the unnamed city. Obtaining certain items like black ice or obsidian is made quite difficult due to the distance from the frozen north. However, there is an obelisk in the unnamed city that cuts down on a massive amount of travel time when you eventually build a map room, especially if you choose to build a secondary outpost in the north. This is a pretty decent location for an early and mid game base, though in late game you may find yourself wanting to move a bit further north. Next up we're in map square E8, just south of the Den. This location has quite a bit less space than the previous one, though it offers much better access to thralls, mid to end game resources and access to the north. This is quite a resource abundant area in the early game, with plenty of access to wood and stone. Due to being so close to the Den, you'll have prime access to a whole bunch of worker and fighter thralls, along with a guaranteed bearer spawn at the campfire outside the entrance to the Den, which of course you can just kill him, pop the bearer pack and hopefully get yourself some alchemical base, which will save you a lot of time in the mid to late game. You're also still relatively close to the unnamed city, so you can still get those really powerful relic hunter thralls. To the east of the base you have the savannah for all your thick hide needs. There's access to water just to the south of the base, and iron on the path up to the highlands next to the Chaos Mouth. It's not too much iron, but it should keep you topped up regularly. You're also not too far away from the Shattered Springs for easy access to Brimstone, and Sepameru is only a little further ahead, allowing for access to even more thralls and of course easy chest runs. There are also obelisks in of course the unnamed city and the Shattered Springs, making movement across the map easy if you have a map room, and even easier if you also have a mount. This base has tons of accessibility options, though the size of the area is a slight downside. You should have enough room to build a decent sized base, and of course you can expand to the lower ground or hang parts of your base off the edge, but you might find that you struggle for space in the later game if you don't build efficiently. However, that being said, this location is very flexible, it's close to quite a few important resources, and it's a great option to consider for a solid early to mid game start, and it's in a central enough location where it could serve as an end game base if you really wanted it to. Finally, this is a bit of an unconventional one. We are in map square H8, north of the savannah, and this base location is a cave. I imagine that this is already quite a popular spot given how close it is to the highlands and the abundant access to thick hide just to the south, but this is still a great location. The cave is quite extensive, it's about 3 tiles high I'd say. It's quite easy to close the cave off at both entrances to ensure that you can maximise the space you have, which is also a really nice feature. One of the biggest benefits here is that realistically, at the bare minimum, you only need to build 2 sets of walls to complete your home. You don't need fancy roofing or anything like that, meaning you can instead put your resources towards other important uses. You have easy access to water at the entrance of the base, and lots of stone around the savannah and up in the highlands where you'll also find wood. The water also allows you to place quite a lot of fish traps, so you can farm oil a bit easier in that early to mid game. In this location you are a little bit further away from thralls, but it's not too bad. There are a couple Dogs of the Desert camps nearby to the south, alongside some Nordheimer camps just north in the highlands. Both are good options at different stages in the game, but you can of course also just ride to the Den, the Unnamed City or New Asagarth, though it's a bit of a longer journey to those locations from this base. The only issue with this base is that coal and iron can be a little bit of a jaunt away, with the best source of iron being just west at the Chaos Mouth. There is still iron scattered around the entrance above the cave to the highlands, which can easily keep you topped up if you have some to fall back on. You'll have to travel to efficiently gather Ichor and Demon Blood, but you won't have to go too far. This is a great base location that can serve you really well if you don't care too much about building a fancy base design. It's a very efficient base location in terms of what's needed to build a base here, and if you don't mind the aesthetics of living in a cave, it provides a great location to travel to important parts of the map. There is a slight downside in that the nearest obelisk is a fair distance south at the sinkhole, but it's not too bad of a journey on horseback. This is a base that can make the early and mid game quite convenient for you, but if you really want to, you could take this base all the way to the late game in relative comfort. And there we have it, 3 base locations in the desert of the Exiled Lands. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this video should help any of you struggling to find a solid base location, and now hopefully you can lay down foundations on your new settlement. Let me know in the comments below which area of the map you think I should do next. I think there's room for a part 2 for the desert, but there are definitely a few more good base locations for all the different biomes that could work quite nicely. If you like the channel and would like to see more content in the future, there are links in the description to my Twitter, Twitch, Discord, NordVPN discount, Host Havoc affiliate link and my Patreon, or of course you can simply just leave a like and subscribe. Any of those are greatly appreciated. If you do choose to become a patron, you'll get sneak peeks of future videos, special roles in the Coffee Cult Discord, full-size blueprint downloads, your name at the end of every video, and finally, a brand new edition for the $5 and above tiers, custom-made Conan Exiles wallpapers in both 1080p and 4K resolutions, with patrons at the $20 tier being able to request custom designs. On that note, a massive thanks to our patrons Sadialot, Randar, Connor, Blue Ivy, Velma, Torn, Marrel224, Eagle Rose and Volatile Shinobi. If you're new here, I upload every Wednesday and Sunday, so I hope to see you then. As always, take care, and I'll see you soon.